You ever live in one of those old Brooklyn apartment buildings that feels more like a living thing than a structure? You know, where every floorboard has its own opinion, the elevator sighs like it's been through 3 divorces, and the smell in the hallway changes depending on who's cooking what? Yeah, that's my place. I've been here for 11 years. Rent controlled, miracle location, brick walls that pretend to keep noise out, but mostly just echo it differently. You learn to identify people not by faces, but by footsteps. Mrs. Ortega on the 3rd floor wears slippers that slap the floor like wet pancakes. The newlyweds in 4B fight in whispers so loud they might as well scream. And upstairs, directly above me, there's her. Miss L. Nobody knew her real name. Some said Linda, others swore it was Lydia, one guy thought it was Louise. Nobody ever got confirmation because nobody ever talked to her. I mean ever. 10 years in the same building. Not one conversation. She was like an urban myth with a social security number. At first, I didn't care. You move into a New York apartment, you expect weird neighbors. The guy across the hall used to dry socks on his doorknob. So, a silent lady upstairs? Fine. But as time went by, she became sort of legend. New tenants would whisper about her like she was a ghost. She never opens the door, they'd say, even when the fire alarm goes off. Someone swore she once got a package and the delivery guy waited 20 minutes. She never opened, just slid a note under the door that said, "Leave it there. Thank you." The first time I heard her was 3 months after I moved in. I was coming up the stairs because, surprise, the elevator had decided it was too emotionally drained to work again. And there she was, not physically, but through sound. A faint whistle. Not a sharp one. More like someone humming through their teeth. I froze on the landing. You ever hear something that doesn't belong? Like when a silent place suddenly breathes. That's what it was. A tiny melody coming from behind her door. Took me a second to recognize it. Theme from Casablanca. That night, I lay in bed wondering what kind of person sits in an old Brooklyn apartment whistling Bogart tunes to themselves. Fast forward a couple months. I'd already gotten used to hearing her footsteps early in the morning, slow, careful ones, like she was measuring each board. Sometimes, I'd find small notes taped neatly on the downstairs message board. Laundry machine out of service. Please do not overload. Always signed L, with a little that looked deliberate, almost proud. Then one evening, I bumped into Tony, our building's self-appointed philosopher and part-time handyman. He was sitting on the front steps with a cup of Dunkin' coffee and that I've got gossip look. "Hey, you know the lady upstairs?" he asked, squinting at me like we were sharing state secrets. "The mysterious Miss L?" "Sure. What about her?" Tony nodded, lowering his voice. "Used to be a translator. Did work for publishers. Smart lady. But around 10 years ago, her hearing started to go. She fought it for a while. Doctors, hearing aids, the whole deal. Guess at some point, she just stopped trying. Don't think she's spoken to anyone since." I remember just standing there holding my grocery bag with melting ice cream inside and feeling weirdly humbled. You spend months thinking someone's just rude, and then you find out they've been dealing with something like that. Tony sipped his coffee. Sat, huh. She used to come down for building meetings. Sharp as a knife. Then one day, poof. Stopped showing up. I guess silence is easier than pretending you hear what you don't. He shrugged, got up, and went back inside, leaving me there with my thoughts and a melted pint of chocolate chip. The next morning, I wrote my first note. Nothing fancy, just a sticky note. "Good morning, Miss L. Hope you're doing well." I stuck it on her door on my way out. Didn't expect anything. But when I got home that evening, there was another sticky note right below mine. "Thank you. I am. Hope you are too. Neat handwriting. Like from someone who still cares about cursive. Every letter perfectly balanced. The dot on the I like a tiny pearl. And that was the start of it. Every few days, I'd leave another note. Sometimes something simple. The magnolia trees are blooming in the park. Sometimes just to have a nice day. And she'd always reply, short and polite, with that same tidy penmanship. Then one day I decided to up the game. I wrote, "What's your favorite movie?" "I'm guessing Casablanca, based on your whistling." Her reply came the next morning. "Close. Breakfast at Tiffany's. But I like Casablanca too." That note made me grin like an idiot all day. Now, before you think I was trying to flirt with a 70-something neighbor, no, it wasn't that. It was just connection. You live in the city long enough, you start to miss that. People are surrounded by thousands of others, but they're starving for genuine moments. The notes became a quiet ritual, a strange, peaceful part of my week. But then came the day that changed everything. It was early November. The city was gray, that pre-holiday kind of cold where people wear coats but pretend it's not winter yet. I came home late from work. I do graphic design for a print shop in Dumbo. And as I was unlocking my door, I noticed a weird sound. At first, I thought it was the radiator. You know that knocking noise like it's coughing up ghosts? But no, this was different. A faint metallic clatter, then silence, then another. It was coming from upstairs. I hesitated. Miss L never made noise. Ever. So I went up. Her door was slightly open, just a crack, but enough to make my stomach drop. There was a soft light inside, flickering like a lamp had fallen. I knocked. Miss L? You okay? No answer. I pushed the door gently. It opened halfway, creaking like it hadn't moved in years. Miss L. Still nothing. Then I saw her, sitting on the floor near the coffee table, surrounded by spilled papers. She looked dazed, but alert, like someone who'd stood up too fast and sat back down before fainting. Her eyes met mine, and for a second I didn't know what to do. You could tell she didn't hear me. Her hearing aids were on the table. I stepped closer, raised both hands like some kind of awkward mime. You okay? I mouthed. She blinked, then nodded, wrote something on the nearest piece of paper, tore it off, handed it to me. Tripped. I'm fine. Thank you. I hesitated, pointing to the lamp on the floor. Can I help? She sighed. You could tell she was debating, then nodded slightly. I picked up the lamp, the papers straight in a rug. She watched carefully, as if making sure I didn't touch anything personal. The place was spotless. Books stacked like soldiers, plants perfectly trimmed. It smelled faintly of lavender and old paper. When I was done, she wrote again. I'm grateful. Please don't tell anyone. I wrote back. Sure, but maybe keep the lamp on the table next time. She smiled. First time I'd seen her do that. And just like that, the door to her world opened a crack wider. After that night, she didn't go back to total silence. I'd sometimes find longer notes, ones with small questions. How's work? Do you still jog in the mornings? The magnolias are gone. What's next? I answered everything. A couple weeks later, I found a small paper bag by my door. Inside, homemade cookies, oatmeal with little chocolate chips. A note attached. For your help that evening. Thank you. Best damn cookies I've ever had. I knocked on her door to say thanks. More like tap twice out of politeness. And waited. A paper slid out from underneath. You're welcome. Don't knock, just right. I laughed. Fair enough. Around Christmas, our building turned into its usual circus. Decorations, burnt cookies, that one guy who insists on playing Mariah Carey on loop. I left Miss L a small potted poinsettia with a card. Merry Christmas. Miss L. Hope you're staying warm. Her reply. Same to you. I hear the carols through the floor. Prefer your handwriting. That line stuck with me. Prefer your handwriting. I guess that's when I realized that for her, silence wasn't isolation. It was choice. She didn't need to hear to connect. But life doesn't stop to let you enjoy poetic moments. January hit hard. I got swamped at work. New manager, new clients, the kind that want 50 logo drafts by Monday. I stopped writing notes for a while. Just got caught up. Then one night, coming home past midnight, I saw something taped to my door. Haven't heard your footsteps lately. Hope you're okay. Ed. And that hit me. She learned my footsteps. The next morning, I left her a note back. Still alive. Drowning in deadlines. We'll send smoke signals soon. Her reply came fast. Then you'd better get waterproof paper. I laughed out loud in the hallway. It echoed all the way down. In February, the building's heating system went on strike again. Everyone complained. Except her. I knocked once to check if she needed a space heater. Her note came. I have sweaters. And tea. You. I wrote back. I have complaints. And whiskey. Her next note. We cope differently. Spring came. And that's when things took a strange turn. One Saturday morning, I was half asleep when someone banged on my door. I opened it, Tony, sweating, panicked. You got Miss L's spare key? What? No. What? She didn't pick up her groceries. Delivery guy said her door's locked from inside. She never does that. Thought you two wrote each other. My heart dropped. We went up. He knocked, called her name, nothing. He looked at me. Break it. I hesitated, then nodded. He pushed the door hard. It gave way with a dull snap. She was there, sitting on the floor again, this time near the window, motionless. My chest froze until I saw her eyes move. She looked up, confused but conscious. Paramedics came within minutes. Someone else had called 911. Turned out she'd fainted from dehydration. Nothing serious, thank God. But as they carried her out, I saw something on the table, our stack of notes. She'd kept them all, tied with a blue ribbon. She spent a week in the hospital. I visited once, though visited might be overstating it. I left a small notebook with a message on the first page. For when you're back home. I'll keep writing. When she returned, her door had a new sign taped to it. Back. Thank you all for your concern. Please don't ring. But she started writing again. More often this time. Sometimes whole paragraphs about the books she was reading or memories from her translation work. She told me she once worked on Russian literature. Beautiful, tragic, impossible to translate perfectly, she wrote. I'd reply with questions, jokes, random thoughts. One day she asked, "Why do you still write to me?" I wrote back, "Because you answer." Her reply came a day later. Fair. It became routine again. I'd hear her chair creak upstairs when she was writing. Sometimes, when I passed her door, I'd smell coffee and toast. She was there, steady, constant. But time doesn't freeze. By late summer, I started noticing something. Her handwriting changed. It got shakier, letters leaning like they were tired. I asked once if she was okay. She replied, "Fine, just slow." That was the last note I got from her for a while. A few weeks later, I came home to find paramedics again. Same apartment, same hallway. This time, quieter. I stood there as they wheeled out a stretcher covered in a white sheet. Tony stood beside me, hat in his hands. "She passed last night," he said quietly. "Natural causes, they think. Peaceful." I didn't say anything. The next morning, the building felt wrong. Too quiet. I went upstairs, stood by her door, now sealed with a strip of tape from the landlord. And there, on the floor, was one last envelope. My name written neatly on it. Inside, one short note. "Thank you for listening without sound." That's it. No signature, no date. Just that. Weeks passed. The apartment above stayed empty for months. The new tenant eventually moved in, some grad student with a guitar and loud friends. Life resumed, but sometimes when the hallway's quiet and the elevator stuck again, I still catch myself looking at her door. And I swear, once in a while, late at night, I hear faint whistling. The Casablanca tune. Could be the pipes. Could be imagination. Or maybe she's just reminding me that silence isn't absence. It's another kind of conversation. Now look, I know how it sounds. You're probably thinking, nice sentimental story, guy befriends old lady through notes, cue the music. But it wasn't that clean. There were days I forgot to write back. Times I thought, what am I doing? It wasn't some Hallmark movie. It was messy, ordinary, human. But it changed me. I started noticing things again. The way people pause before speaking, the rhythm of the city's noise, the small kindnesses you overlook when you're in a rush. I realized you don't need a grand reason to reach out. Sometimes all it takes is a sticky note on a stranger's door. You want to know the last thing I wrote her before she passed? It wasn't deep. Just, "Morning smells like spring. Hope you're seeing it too." She never answered. But that's okay. Because in that silence, in that pause that used to feel awkward, there was something warm. Sometimes I leave a note anyway. For no one. Just a blank piece of paper taped to the door where she used to live. And I swear, the building gets quieter when I do. Not in a sad way. More like it's listening. Now, I'll tell you what I didn't know back then. That those little exchanges would outlast everything else. Friends moved, jobs changed. Even the damn elevator got replaced. But that woman upstairs, who never said a word out loud, taught me more about communication than anyone I've ever met. She taught me that silence isn't the enemy. It's just another language. One most of us forgot how to speak. And if you ever find yourself in a Brooklyn building late at night and the air feels still, stop for a second. You might just hear it too. A faint whistle from somewhere above.